Hey, what's up, guys? So this is gonna be the weekly recap. I'm gonna try to go as fast as possible because I overtraded like crazy this week. I'm I'm able to trade full time right now. I'm in the process of buying a house in Orlando. I gotta wait until next week to move in, so I'm still out in Idaho hanging out with my mom. Um, it allows me to trade as much as I want, which is amazing, but at the same time, it uh it allows me to overtrade, which is not good. I was able to manage it decently this week. I'm going to dive right into this because this is gonna be a long one. So I started off the week with Psalms. It's popping up here into like almost into the $5 area. Um, I missed all this. I'm used to Eastern Standard Time. I was living in Kentucky. Now that I'm back in Idaho, I gotta wake up early, and when I first got out here, it wasn't ideal. I'm not a morning person at all. So I missed all of this, and then I got this little stupid trade, adrenaline break. I shorted, I covered, some change, honestly. Like it wasn't even really worth taking. I also took comms. I mean, same thing, really. Like I'm missing all this stuff. Like I need to wake up way earlier, and which I started doing later on in the week. Um, but I mean, it's still not bad. I shorted, I covered in the money. Um, Beanie traded. Where is that? Um, this one, I completely. First off, I shouldn't have been trading this. It's higher price stock. I know I was trading with too much size. I took a good little cut on this thing. Um, I don't know what I was doing, to be completely honest with you, because I should have been shorting like here, and I missed out on it. I got FOMO. I shorted weakness, the fell of 15. I could have covered a little bit into the wash. I didn't. I got greedy. I got cut. I shorted up here, cover. Small little loss, but I mean, still, like, that's just horrible trading. Like, the only real trade was up here. Or if you were quick enough to get the pop and fell of 18, like, I mean, you would have killed. But I, uh, I wasn't trading all that great on this, obviously. So this is a horrible trade. FOMO, uh, just this isn't even like a B grade setup. This is just like horrible trading right here. I traded KRBP. Now this is a good trade. Um, but I do remember this one because this I was only in. Yeah, I was I was in like a sixth of my size. Um, I shorted because I wanted to pop above three. That like I was gonna load the boat above three because that's one of my favorite setups is pop and fill at three because that's when margin kicks in. And so I shorted here, like I started scaling in and it just died. And so I just held this thing all the way to my final target. And I made a decent little trade on this. Even with six size, which is something I'm going to get to here in a little bit. So then I also traded Fun. I missed trade right at open. This thing opened up and it's just heavy right at 12. Like that would have been a perfect short. And it just, I mean, this thing just tanked. But what I was trading wasn't A grade setup at all because it already hit the final target. No bounce whatsoever. This thing just tanked. Um, but I still shorted it. I don't know why, but I did. Um, so I shorted the top, risking here, and then I covered at the bottom. I still did decent. I mean, it's got a lot of range to it, so, but that's probably what I was looking at is like the range. I like these stocks that have a lot more range to it. Oh, and then I shorted the stuff over here that I covered. Um, but I like. Oh, and I covered down there, so I guess I should probably get all my trade in. Oh yeah, I do remember this one because this had the low of day down here, and so kind of got chopped up over here. I shorted the stuff here, I covered, and then I held actually quite a bit of it because I was like, you know what, I want to see if this thing will crack low of day. It did, and right when it cracked, like I covered into the wash, and I mean it's a pretty good little trade, but I mean still, this is more of a boredom trade. I mean, I'm trading this thing at 11, at 12. Yeah, this is not. I need to stop doing this kind of stuff. Like, because this it's gonna get me in the habit of trading all day long. So, but then I got my butt kicked trading outside of my comfort zone again on BKKT, which is crazy because I was like, man, this thing's overextended. It's gonna just drop because I'm so knowledgeable in the stock market already. Like this thing popped up, I shorted, I got cut, I shorted, covered, shorted weakness or I recycled weakness, and I broke it off break even. Then I shorted, covered, and this thing just went nuts. Popped up here, I drew in a trend line, I shorted the pop, covered break even. I mean, I lost all my profits for the day, and I was just like, you know, this thing can't go any higher, can't go any higher, and I mean, this thing just went crazy. It went up to $60 in after hours. Like that's why you have rules. That's why you don't just hope and pray because like I don't know, especially like this last week or last 2 weeks, like the stock market's woke up and it's got a lot of volume, and so need to kind of I need to be cautious. But then I also traded EQOS. I don't even see it on here. Oh, EJH. So this was not a good trade at all. How much did? Yeah. So I shorted here. I was looking for the pop to 4. I shorted and I covered. I started scaling in, but like that's another thing. I mean, this was in a lot of range, so like honestly, like this I'm okay with. I'm okay with like having like a sixth of my size and giving like a 15-cent wiggle room. But what I'm starting to realize is if I scale in, I'm only in six thighs. Like I want to see it like stuffing out, like what it's doing here within like 10 cents. That I can add a little bit more size. But the problem is it started curling right here. I need to start being a lot more mindful of the Holden VWAP. It's curling and breaking the knot. I should have cut everything off here because what it's been doing is curling and popping back up. And I could have had a little profit right here. And I could have started scaling in and been in only six size right here and gave it a little bit of wiggle room and then started adding to my position. Like this would have been a nice add right at 4 um, with a really tight risk. And I mean, this thing just died. So it's just being more mindful of how the stock market's moving. That's why I'm going to go back today, and every single one of these trades that I'm doing right now, I'm going to literally retrade every single one of them and start working on a different approach to trading and starting to get that practice in that I need. I also traded MYSZ. This one I remember was a giant headache for me. Um, so I shorted up here at 165. I covered partial. I recycled on stuff of I thought it was stuffing on VWAP. It dropped and then bought right back up. I cut it all off. And I was too quick to jump back in. Um, and I took a small little cut on that. Um, Popped up here. It stuffed for a second. It went above 2, under 2. I slammed the bid at 2. Partial size, bought right back up. Volume was just crazy. There's no reason to be shorting this thing with 3 million volume. I added more size and I cut it. And I shorted, cut break even. Um, like when I'm starting to do this kind of stuff, I'm starting to realize, I'm starting to catch myself that this is me starting to go into tilt. This is where my emotions are taking over. I'm not trading good at all. This thing stuffed. Like I was looking for the break of 3, like I was saying earlier in the video. Like I love the fake breakout of 3s. So that's like one of my favorite setups. Um, I wasn't quick enough. I like to see how I personally trade it is I like to see it pop over 3, then I watch the bid. Once I start seeing 3 breaking the bid, I slam the bid, and that's how I personally short uh, these. But since it didn't break over 3, I wasn't able to trade the way that I trade. Like I'm not good at. I don't like shorting on the ask on these kind of things. Like I like to see it pop up, and I'll just sit back and I'll wait, and I'll wait for the bid to chip. Um, but I'm gonna go back. I have a couple of different ideas on ways I want to start playing those a little bit differently to kind of like lower my risk because this thing popped up to 310. I wait for 3 to go out and I slam the bid. I mean, I'm risking, if I'm in full size, like that could be I could be short weakness on that. So it's like I have a couple different ideas on things I want to play with a little bit, and so I'll be working on that a little bit today. But anyways, I shorted here, risking high of day. I covered partial. I shorted, covered. Wrong way. I covered break even. I'll leave this alone, and I left it alone, and it did hit the final target. Uh, I absolutely killed LIDR. This was probably, I'm pretty sure this is the biggest trade of the month. Yeah, barely. So this one was a killer, and this I also only took this with like third size too. So because this thing was a higher price stock, it was crazy. And kind of get into that a little bit. So I'm sorry this is gonna be a really long video. I'm trying to go as quick as possible. Um, I shorted the stuff I covered. I shorted weakness, and I covered everything off. Popped up here. I thought it was gonna stuff again. I shorted, and I was only in partial size, but like, I mean that right there is almost 50 cents. Even on small size, that is absolutely ridiculous. Um, then I started scaling in because I mean this hurt really bad. Um, I scaled in, popped down. I scaled in a little bit more, risking just above the 9. I covered partial. I re-shorted, cover, shorted, cover. I shorted here, cover break even. Then I shorted cover and cover one to reclaim the 9. I should have been a little bit more patient because I mean that's another 50 cents. So once again, that's going to be something I'm going to kind of work on a little bit today. GHSI. I missed this trade. Popped up here. I took the backside short cover. I'm pretty sure that was all on that trade. KAVL. Pretty sure this one was crazy too. So I start off in pre-market. So I shorted lower high after the stuff, short, covered. I covered break even, popped back up. I reshorted, short, cover. I missed all this. I was pretty pissed, honestly. Then at open, I want to see this thing pop up to VWAP or like 340s, 360s area. It didn't. It just opened and just tanked. I scaled in. I went in like third size, risking just above J lines. I covered, came up here. I shorted the trend break on the 9, covered, short, cover, short, cover all the way down at the bottom. And this is a pretty solid trade, honestly. Like even though I was using like really small size, it just kind of added up. And then AGRI, I'm pretty sure I did really well on this stock. That's a problem. I've been trading too much or too many stocks that it's hard to remember. Fuck this stock. I would have fought it all day. Well, clearly that comment I didn't listen to it very well. So I shorted here, stuff of 5. I got cut. I shorted, cut, break even. Just do this. I took a stop here, pretty decent sized stop. I shorted again. I cut it off, break even. But I mean, look at this volume. That's the huge thing. Like this is just crazy, crazy, crazy volume. Then came up here. I started scaling in short, short, cover. And then this is just completely uptrending. There's short, short, cover, break even, short, cover, break even, short, cover. That's a huge thing that I need to work on because I did really well. I'll get to that here in a little bit, but man, my commissions were insane. Because I've been trading too much. Come up here, I shorted, cover. Pretty sure I covered all the way at the very bottom. I added to it, so I covered, I recycled, and I covered all the way at the very bottom. Then IFRX. So I just got done with a mentoring lesson with a bunch of mentoring students, and we were talking about this one. I did really well on this one, on some of it, but then all of this and all of this didn't need to happen because it already hit the final target. I should have left it alone. But I started in really small size. I covered a small piece, short, short, cover, short, short. I added short, break even. Then I started looking to scale into the 480s. It didn't hit the 480s, so I was in really, really small size. Died. I got FOMO. I shorted weakness. I had to cover into the pop. I gave some of my profits back because I lowered my average. I would have had a solid day even with small size. I would have made my daily goal if I would just left it alone. And so I'm not allowing myself to do stupid stuff like that anymore. I shorted the pop, covered in the drop, pop, cover, cover break even, short, cover, cover break even. Came up here, I shorted the stuff, I covered a little piece. I started scaling in on weakness. I needed to scale in up here again if I was going to scale in, or I just need to hold that partial for a longer move. I cut off break even. I shorted, covered into the wash. Uh, then I started scaling in. I took a big cut. This hurt. Then I shorted weakness because I got FOMO. I took a stop. I shorted, cover, cover, and then I covered all of it when it curled up. At this point, I was just mentally exhausted. I didn't even care. I just wanted to get done trading. Then I traded this. This was SSR. I shouldn't have been trading this. I gave a bunch of my profits back because I absolutely on the same day I traded IFRX, and even though I didn't trade it all that great, I killed it on that stock, and I gave back a lot of my profits on this. I shorted, covered, I shorted, I covered in the money, and I shorted, covered. And like I know it doesn't look like I gave it a lot of wiggle room, but like I went in a little bit too big of size, and the range on this was pretty decent. Like I mean, that's 20 cents. Each one of these boxes is 20 cents. So I mean, it doesn't look like it went like far against me, but it went enough to hurt. Um, then I traded GF AI. I shorted the stuff of VWAP pre-market. I covered break even. I shorted, covered break even. Then I shorted, cover, short, cover, cover break even. Then into the open. I think I had a lot of volume too. I started scaling in. I scaled in. I scaled in. I was risking high a day. I covered a small piece, covered more, covered a majority down here, and I covered all at the break of 3. Um, and then I got my butt kicked yesterday on Weemy. Once again, I would have just absolutely killed it yesterday, but I fight these stupid stocks. Short, short, cover, short, short, cover. I'm already getting cut up pre-market. I was down pre-market. Then I shorted weakness, or J-lines. Like, I guess it's not weakness. I shorted J-lines. I cut just above J-lines. I shorted. I covered, like, I was nervous on this one. I covered, and it just went without me. I shorted, covered, covered, short, cover for a loss, short, cover. I could cover down here, but I wanted to wait all the way down there. I gave my profits back, or I didn't take any profits. Then I shorted, cover, and then covered at the final target. But like, I got too cut up on this thing. At the end of the day, or at the uh, this is the end of the month, so I had one bad day. I haven't been trading all that much because I had a lot of crazy stuff going on at the very beginning of the month, so I just started back. The first day was a little rough, but then I just I willed everything back in, and I just started killing it. But this and this literally should have been double of this day, but I uh, I broke rules. I gave too much of my profits back, and so I had really small days. And on top of that, like this day is probably down here because of commissions. This day is probably down here because of commissions. This day is almost non-existent because of commissions. So I need to make sure that I'm not over trading. I'm taking my entries because I have good entries. But then I cut profits too quickly. Then I'm adding to my position, which is lowering my average, and then I'm getting stopped out. And so it's like little things like that. But I've literally, like, in the last week, I did way better than I would working my full-time job back in Kentucky in 2 weeks. And I'm using literally not even half the size I was using in the mentoring program, like, you know, 6 months ago. And so if I'm able to do this with such small size, what I'm learning is it doesn't matter all that much. Like, it obviously matters about the entry. You have to have a smaller risk, but like, I need to go back and track and see what targets hit and when they hit, and the percentage of the time that they do get hit, and start figuring out different ways to trail my stops. So that way I can take the good trade, and then I have, like, this next week. Like, I hope whoever watches this all the way through holds me accountable. Like, call me out next week if I got like 20 gazillion entries and exits, because what I want to do is I want to take a short, cover, 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 cover. That's it. Like, maybe one, maybe two tops recycles, and then just hold in the position, because even with small size, like, I could double or even triple this next week or next month. Like, this next month when I move down to Orlando, like, I'm gonna cut the size way back when I first moved to Orlando, because it's gonna change things a little bit on my everything's gonna be a little bit different, and so I want to make sure that I'm not risking anything. That's one good thing about that I've done differently, is that in mentoring I would go full size on every single trade. Now I'm like I'm adapting to it. Like, is there too many cuts? If I took too many cuts, then I have to lower my size in half. Time of day, I have to alter my size, all that kind of stuff. I feel like it's factoring in. I'm starting to find my style a little bit more, and I feel like that's what's going to allow me to do really well at trading. Is because you can't trade the way that everybody else trades. You have to find your own style, and right now I'm very fortunate that I have the time to dive into my psychology and start, like, what makes sense to me, what are my flaws, what are my strengths, how do I play into the strengths more, and how do I cut out my weaknesses. And so that's kind of my process right now, but I absolutely killed it this month. I'm really proud of myself, but at the same time, there's always room for improvement. So I'm going to go back today. I'm going to restudy everything and get doing that. So sorry for the very long video. Whoever makes it this far, thanks for watching. I'll try to do it a lot quicker next week. Have a good one. Bye.